Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Friday. It's Daryl here. It's bright and freaking early, man. It's 3 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. It's actually not even 3 a.m. yet. If you could probably tell, my hair's still wet from the shower. This is one of those mornings where I couldn't wait to get out here. I had all these things I put together in my head that I needed to talk about, and I need to put this to tell you guys this story. This is one of those situations where I saw something 3 days ago. I think it was Tuesday. Today's Friday. And then I saw something else yesterday. I go shopping at a Dollar General here in Bristol, Connecticut, a lot. There's several of the stores around here. And I go to a lot of them while I'm out biking on my bike around town. And I'll stop in and buy stuff and put it in my backpack and bring it home on the way home. And I saw something Tuesday. I saw a gentleman, a white gentleman in his 60s. To me, I know I've seen this guy walking around town with a red MAGA hat on. I'm 100% sure of it. But he didn't have this on this week. He didn't have his hat on this week. So, that being said, I saw him Tuesday at Dollar General. And his behavior, he was behind me in line. And then I saw him again yesterday at Dollar General. And this is what I want to talk about. This is one of those cases where, I saw something Tuesday, and in my head I'm thinking this guy's a jerk. I just can't wait to get away from this guy. Then I saw him again Thursday, and I saw the way he was acting Thursday. And it just kind of percolates in my head. And overnight, I'm kind of putting this all together as I wake up through the night, or I fall asleep last night. And I'm like, oh my God, what a freaking hypocrite. And I start putting it all together. So by this morning, I couldn't wait to get out here and do this video. So here, let me start at the very beginning. This was Tuesday. I'm biking around town, and I'm stopping in. It's a hot day. I'm stopping. It's been hot. It's been in the 90s and like 90% humidity. It's like tropical here in Connecticut. Just the heat index is over 100, 105, 100, 110. Okay, so I stop in Dollar General Tuesday, and there's usually a line because they only have one person working at the counter. That's probably why the prices are so cheap. It's just something you do. When I go in there, I tell myself, just be patient. If there's a line, you have to wait. It doesn't take more than maybe 5 minutes. And I tell myself, you're not in a hurry today. You're going back home. You're riding your bike. You're not in a big hurry. Just don't let it get the best of you. So I stop in, and I'm wearing a backpack, and that's what I usually wear on my bike. And I now know that their rules are that I got to leave the backpack up front. So I walk in the door, and I make sure I make eye contact with the one cashier. So he sees I'm taking my backpack off, and I'm putting it kind of behind his counter so he can keep an eye on it. It's got my phone, it's got all the rest of my money in it, the stuff I'm carrying with me. And he's like, oh, excellent, boss. I know the drill by now. So I put the backpack back there, and he's like, it's this tall black gentleman, probably in his 20s. And this comes, I'm saying that for a reason, because it comes into play. All right, so I put it there, and he's like, thanks a lot, boss. Thank you so much. So I'm not, I know the drill. I'm not making a big fuss over having to leave my backpack, which I've seen other people do, having to leave bags up front. So I go back, and both times I was buying ice cream, Tuesday and Thursday. So I go back, I get my ice cream, just one half gallon, whatever, of ice cream. I get in line, and there's 2 or 3 people in front of me, and there's a black woman at the counter, and then there's the black gentleman behind the counter, and then there's the white MAGA guy behind me, and there's a postal guy, a guy in a postal mail delivery guy behind him, and I don't think there was anybody in front of me, or if there was, they left, so I could just see the black lady, the black woman, cashing her stuff out at the counter, and the MAGA guy behind me. And we're waiting, and the black lady's having problems. She's got a debit card, and I don't think she knows how to use it. And she's putting her number in, and it's not working, and she has to put it again. And the cashier and her are kind of working through the problems, and so we're just standing there. And the MAGA guy behind me, I can hear him behind me start getting like restless and mumbling under his breath. And I could hear him like moving around. And he starts mumbling stuff. And he starts talking to my back. Now, see, I'm not one of these guys that start making comments when I'm in line. I stand there and I stay calm. And I just think about other stuff I have to do during the day. I kind of multitask in my head, and I'm just patient. And the people that start getting vocal and say, hey, can we get somebody else up here to ring out? The people that start making a fuss, those people give me anxiety, okay? It makes it worse for me when the people in line start fussing about how long it's taking for the line to move forward. Those people give me anxiety, okay? So the MAGA guy behind me starts talking to my back, and I'm not turning around. I could hear him talking to my back, like he's expecting me to turn around and agree with it. And he says this. He's saying, they should have somebody else up here up front. And he says this loud enough for everybody to hear. Then he turns around and goes, hey, can we get somebody else up front here? And, there's usually nobody else. There's usually only like 2 people working the store. One person working in the back, putting stuff up, and the cashier. So this is pointless. This is pointless, really. This is what I think, just be patient. So he's turning, and then I hear him talking to the postal guy. And the postal guy, I could hear the postal guy behind him doesn't sound like he's very enthused about joining this conversation. I'm not turning around. I just refuse. I could hear this MAGA guy talking to my back, like he's expecting me to turn around and agree with him. And I refuse to. I just ignore him. And he says to my back, he says in a low tone, like I could hear his head right behind me here. And he goes, this is what happens when you get DEI hires. He says this under his breath to me, meaning the black guy is performing not up to his standards. It must have been a DEI hire, what's that called? Diversity, equality, and diversion, or whatever they call it. So he's making these comments. Then he says, he still keep mumbling. I'm refusing to turn around. And he says about the black girl, he says, you'd think she'd know how to use her SNAP welfare card by now. And in my head, I'm like, this guy is so ignorant. When I hear people say, like welfare, I don't even think there is welfare nowadays. There's SNAP benefits, and there's people that are on SSI, supplemental income or whatever. I don't even, when I hear somebody say the word welfare, it just sets off alarms in my head. It's a derogatory term to me. And he says, you'd think you'd know how to use her SNAP welfare card by now. And he says it like in low tones under my, to the back of my head, because I'm refusing to turn around. So he starts talking to the postal guy behind him, because I'm refusing to talk to him. This reminds me of when I used to go to the methadone clinic. And a lot of the people, the addicts, were incredibly impatient, because a lot of them were still using, and they were in a hurry to get their medication. I don't want to call it a fix. And it was the same, maybe that's why I get anxiety, because it was the same situation back then. They were in such a hurry, and most of them didn't work. And this was at the methadone clinic, and they'd start getting all, if it wasn't, the line wasn't moving fast enough, they'd start yelling and screaming. And this is what it reminds me of. It's like a flashback to the methadone clinic. And I stayed calm back then too. And I want to turn around and say that to this guy. I want to turn around and talk to the MAGA guy and say, you know what? You're really behaving like the addicts I used to know at the methadone clinic right now. That's what I was going through my head as he's saying this. But I'm like, no, that's just going to start shit. And it's just going to, just stay calm, stay patient, keep thinking pleasant thoughts, think about what I got to do, what I'm going to paint later, the sales I'm going to make, the money I'm going to have coming in, pleasant thoughts. And, the black lady gets her stuff after maybe 5-6 minutes and goes. And then I go up to the counter, and the black guy says, I'm sorry about the wait, he goes. And he's extra nice to me. He goes, I ring up my ice cream, and he goes, can I put that in the bag for you so it doesn't melt? And I said, no. I said, I'm going to put it in my backpack, And he's like, oh yeah, I forgot about your backpack. He's like, I'm sorry, it's all good, dude. It's all good. Okay, no problem. And he's almost, I almost feel bad, because he's being so, his manners and his patience are just overwhelming, considering he had to hear the MAGA guy behind me and the comments he was making, So I want to say this, white people or Native American people like me, we do experience, not in the same level, but we see this racism. We see it. You know, a lot of us don't agree with it, but we see it. Wait, it gets worse. Okay, so that was Tuesday. You know, I get on my bike, I go home. Thursday, I go into the same store. I think it was the same store. Yeah, it was the same store. And I go back and I get my ice cream again. I eat a lot of ice cream. And I'm going back to the cash register and I see the MAGA guy. He's in the store again. And now he's talking to one of the employees, a Spanish guy. He's talking to a Spanish guy. And he's all laughing and joking. And now he's kind of taking on this urban dialect. He's like, oh man, it's so hot out there, man. It's crazy hot. You know, and I hate, it makes me cringe when I see people do this. You know, like they almost take on an accent when they're talking to Spanish people or Chinese people. You know, they like start talking like the person they think that they're talking to talks. Like they start talking in a fake accent to fit in. It makes me cringe. And that's what this guy's doing. Except now he's all, you know, he's all nice to this guy's face. You know, he's like, he's saying, thank God you don't have to work outside. At least you're working in the air conditioning. You know, like this guy should be working, you know, this guy would probably be usually working out in a field picking lettuce or something. So, he's lucky to be working in Dollar General. You know, and I'm thinking to myself, what a two-faced son of a bitch. You know, because behind all these people's back, he's saying all this stuff about D.E.I. But then when he sees them face to face, he doesn't have the balls to, you know, if you're going to be an ignorant racist, at least be an ignorant racist to the people that you're racist to. You know, don't be a big phone. You know, to me, that just tells me you got no balls. You don't even believe. You're afraid of your own beliefs. You know, you won't even act like you're, you know, you won't even, you put on this false face because you're afraid of how these people react when they see your real face. Yeah, and that just tells me that they don't believe in what they're saying in the first place. They know what they're saying is wrong. They're ashamed of it, you know, and so they take on this other, you know, they're all nice to these people's faces, these employees, these like Spanish and black employees face to face. But when he's behind me and whispering to my back, he's talking about D.E.I. and welfare cards and stuff like that. Just another point that makes me realize, because, you know, from time to time I think to myself, you know, are Democrats as bad as Republicans? You know, are liberals as bad as conservatives? You know, I like to check myself from time to time. You know, am I on the right side? And when I see stuff like this, it makes me 100% sure that I am on the right side. That all people, regardless of color, race, religion, language, whatever, deserve my love and compassion and patience. Just my thoughts for today. Let me know what you think. Have you experienced this? Have you been on the other end of this? Let me know. Have a good Friday.